Hi students, welcome to session 7 of Form and Movement in Animals. So this is session 7 in which we are going to study about bones, the movement of bones and cartilage as well as X-rays. So in the previous session we discussed about the movement in human beings, how does it take place. We studied about the types of joints, types of movable joints. Right? And in today's session, we will start with the movement of bones or how bones move. So I welcome you to Learner's Planet and we will now study about bones. So basically, the topic is how bones move. We know and we have learned that bones move with the help of joints, and joints cannot bring about movement without the help of muscles. So, we can say that muscles bring about movement by contracting, means shortening, and relaxing, means lengthening. So, students, every time you sprint through the halls because you are late for class, you score against your opponents during a game, during a play, or shoot pool with friends, you are always using your bones, muscles, and joints. So without these important body parts, you would be seriously sidelined. That means you would be unable to sit, walk, stand, or do any of the activities you do every day. So from head to our toes, our bones provide support for our bodies and help form our shape. The skull protects the brain and forms the shape of our face. The spinal cord, a pathway for messages between the brain and the body. It is also protected by the backbone or spinal or vertebral column. Remember, we call backbone as spine or vertebral column. Then the ribs, they form a cage that shelters the heart, lungs, liver, etc. And also the pelvis, the bones which are present in it, helps to protect the bladder, intestines, and reproductive organs. Although they are very light in weight, but bones are strong enough to support our entire weight, even if we are 108 kgs or 50 kgs or 60 kgs or whatever. So basically, joints, muscles, and bones work together. This is the musculoskeletal system. The muscular and skeletal system. So what are joints? Joints are places where two bones meet. They make the skeleton flexible, and without them, movement would be impossible. We know that. So muscles are also necessary for movement. As bones and joints are necessary, muscles are also necessary. They are the masses of tough elastic tissue that pull our bones when we move. So together, our bones, muscles, and joints with cartilage forms our musculoskeletal system and enable us to do everyday physical activities. Right? So, what can we say about muscle? How do they work? How do the movement is possible in muscles? Let us see. Yes, one end of a muscle. Here, one end of a muscle is attached to a movable bone, whereas the other end is attached to a fixed bone. So what happens that when the muscle contracts, it moves or it pulls the movable bone. And finally, what happens when it does not contract? Yes, since muscles are only capable of pulling, they work in pairs. So we can say that one end of the muscle is attached to a movable bone, whereas the other end is attached to a fixed bone. So whenever the muscle will contract, this muscle will contract, it pulls the movable bone. And we know that since muscles are only capable of pulling, they work in pairs. They have to work in pairs. And so they have a pair of muscles called as biceps and triceps. So here these are the biceps, the upper ones. These are biceps, and the inner ones which you see are the triceps. So these are the pair of muscles, biceps and triceps, which helps us to move our arm. So the muscles in our legs also work in a similar manner as they helps us to move our arm. The muscles in our legs helps us to move our legs. So this is a beautiful picture of muscles of the upper body. Remember, how does this work? Yes. Now just assume that this is our hand. Right? Here is the joint. And this is the muscle. So what happens that when this biceps relaxes or lengthens, at that time triceps contracts or shortens. This is the first thing. Second thing which you have to keep in mind is when biceps contracts or shortens, at that time triceps relaxes or lengthens. So remember that whenever biceps relaxes means it will lengthen. At that time triceps contracts or shortens. While biceps contracts or shortens, at that time triceps relaxes or lengthens. So it is vice versa. One relaxes, other contracts, other relaxes, one contracts. This is what is the movement of our arms with the help of a pair of muscles, that is biceps and triceps. So arm is straightened and arm is bent because of this. So whenever arm is straightened, these are the two types which occurs when arm is straightened. At that time, this type of movement happens. And when arm is bent, this type of movement happens. So whenever we will straighten our arm, bicep will relax and triceps will contract. And whenever we will bend our arm, biceps will contract and triceps will relax. You can try it on your own. Yes, so this is about muscles. This is the importance of muscles. We just discussed somewhat about it. We will discuss more about muscles in the higher classes. So that is all about how bones move. Now we will discuss about cartilage, which is also a part of musculoskeletal system. Now, what is cartilage? Students, the ends of the bones are covered with a tough elastic tissue called cartilage. Here you can see a beautiful picture of cartilage. This is cartilage and this is a picture of what? Just try to guess it. Yes, this is a picture of a nose. This is nose, right? And here you can see, and if you will touch that portion of your nose, you can just assume or you can just feel that this is cartilage, right? So this is cartilage. So what happens that cartilage makes the ends of the bones smooth and it reduces the friction between the bones during movement. What happens that because of the cartilage present over there, it makes the ends of the bones smooth. And that is why whenever we touch that region, it appears to be very smooth. And what type of function it performs? It reduces the friction between the bones during movement. And it is also present in various other parts of our body other than the nose. Like we could feel cartilage in the upper part of our ear and in the front part of our nose here. And this is the pinna, the upper part of our ear. So these parts are not as hard as bones and can be bent. So touch the tip of your nose or the top of your ear, that's cartilage. It's bendable, not hard like bone, and this flexible material can be found in various parts of our body, including between bones, so they don't rub together. Because if the bones will rub together, then there can be many problems. There may arise many problems. And that is why this cartilage has to be there. And cartilage is present there. So there are some facts about cartilage, that cartilage is a rubbery substance which is used in various places, or which is present in various parts or places of our body. And we can feel cartilage in our ear, not in our ear, but in the upper part of our ear and in the front part of our nose. If we move it back and forward, even cartilage is made from the cells which are embedded in a jelly-like substance which is wrapped in an envelope of tough fibers. But then too, it is very flexible. Even there are cartilage which is present in between the joints and ribs between bones to cushion them against some shocks or heavy impacts. There is a cartilage present in the knee which makes two dish shapes between the thigh and shin bones. So footballers often damage these cartilages. So the cartilage is very flexible and is present in around the nose and ear, as we discussed, present in the upper part of our ear and front part of our nose. So cartilage basically grows quicker than bone, and the skeletons of babies which are present in the womb, in the mother's stomach, or we can say womb, they are mostly cartilage. So how amazing it is, right? So that was all about the bones and cartilage. Now there is one more interesting topic which we are going to discuss is X-rays. So what are X-rays? Students, now sometimes when we are hurt, doctors take an X-ray photograph of the injured part. Just like we click the camera and we get a photograph. Same way. This is a different type of photograph. Like this is an X-ray photograph which takes a photograph of the injured part to find out if there is any fracture in the bones or not. So X-rays let doctors see what's going on inside a person's body. Means what part of the body is injured. Like if a bone is broken and how badly it is broken. And these tests are very quick and painless. So it just needs to sit still for a minute or two as the image is taken, and then we can see this X-ray photograph, and these doctors see an X-ray photograph and they get an idea of what has happened to the injured part, if there is fracture or not, if it is broken or not. So a very amazing thing about X-rays is that X-rays were discovered by German physicists, means who studies physics in depth. So it was discovered by a German physicist named Wilhelm Conrad Roentgen in the year 1895. So he was the German scientist who found them quite by accident when experimenting with vacuum tubes. So let us have a look at an X-ray photograph. Yes, this is an X-ray photograph. These both are the X-ray photographs. They are of different body parts. This is an X-ray photograph of hand, and this is an X-ray photograph of chest. Here you can see they appear like very frightening, but still they are very useful, right? So this is an X-ray photograph of a hand and a chest. So basically what Roentgen did, Roentgen discovered these rays accidentally while working in his laboratory. In various experiments, he found that these rays were able to pass through tissues but not bones. And that is why he discovered it accidentally while working in the laboratory. And today, X-rays are commonly used in medicine. Medicine means not to eat, not orally, but to diagnose fractures. So basically, we can only see the bones in is X-ray photograph, not the muscles or the tissues, other tissues. So X-rays are commonly used in medicine to diagnose fractures and also for scientific research. You will be very amazed to know that this German scientist, Roentgen, found them quite by accident when experimenting with vacuum tubes, and a week later he took an X-ray photograph of his wife's hand, which clearly revealed her wedding ring and her bones. So the photograph electrified the general public and aroused great scientific interest in the new form of radiation, and Roentgen called it X. Why it is named as X-rays? Roentgen called it X to indicate that it was an unknown type of radiation. That is why he called it as X. So the name stuck, although over Roentgen's objections, many of his colleagues suggested calling them Roentgen rays. They are still occasionally referred to as Roentgen rays in German-speaking countries, but basically this is popularly known by X-rays, by the name of X-rays. You will be very, very amazed to know that the Earth's atmosphere is thick enough that virtually no X-rays are able to penetrate from outer space all the way to the Earth's surface. So this is good for us, but also bad for astronomy. We have to put X-ray telescopes and detectors on satellites. Scientists put X-ray telescopes and detectors on satellites, and they cannot do X-ray astronomy from the ground. So they have to put satellites. But this is very good for us because the Earth's atmosphere is thick enough that no X-rays are able to penetrate from outer surface all the way to the Earth's surface because they are harmful for our body, right? But don't think that whenever you have any fracture or something like that, and if you are X-rayed, then you will get harm. It is not like that. It is just a fraction of a second or a minute time that these things are used to know whether there is any broken bone or not, whether there is fracture or not. That doesn't harm the body, right? So I hope that you enjoyed this interesting session of bones, joints, cartilage and X-rays, learning about them. So we'll meet in the next session with a new lesson. Till then, keep enjoying and keep learning. Thank you and have a very nice time. See you.